You are making the world a better place by listening to the Joy of Living podcast. This is your guide to achieving a more purposeful, powerful, and positive life. Join Barry Shore in unlocking the best version of you and becoming happier, healthier, and wealthier. And now, here's your ambassador of joy, Barry Shore.
Good day, beautiful, bountiful, beloved immortal beings, and good-looking people. If you're good-looking, you're always looking for and finding the good. That's the definition of a good-looking person. Always looking for and finding the good in life. And you found good in abundance because you consciously and conscientiously tuned into the joy of living with your humble host, Barry Shore, the ambassador of joy. Notice I didn't say the ambassador of joy. The ambassador of joy, and you are going to be well rewarded today with one of the most dynamic, interesting, fabulous people I've ever had the pleasure of being with, and he'll be on just a little bit. His name is Sal, short for Salvador. He's going to fill you up with so much interesting goodness and greatness. It's going to really rock your world. So before we bring on a wonderful Sal, I want to make mention and say, first of all, huge thank you to all the people who got 518,922 people right now. By the time Sal comes on, it'll be over 525,000. And I want to say thank you. You're always recommending to your family and friends that they should listen to and utilize and share the joy of living. So we urge you, share this with 5 people. You want to share with 50 or 100? Great. But at least 5 people so we can touch millions of people around the world with the message of joy, happiness, peace, and love. Because you tuned in because you know we discuss the 3 fundamentals of life on this show. And when you use these 3 fundamentals, the result is you'll be happier, healthier, and wealthier. Who doesn't want that? Now, the 3 fundamentals are, number 1, life, your life has purpose. And when you lead a purpose-driven life, number 2 happens. Good number 2. You go MAD. Now, MAD is a wonderful acronym. It stands for make a difference. Lead a purpose-driven life, you make a difference in the world. And the 3rd fundamental is to uncover the power and the secrets of everyday words and terms. Simple example, this show is carried over the internet. If you ask anybody, what does www stand for? Invariably, it has to do with the internet. Factually speaking, they're correct. However, in our world, the world of the positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant, www stands for what a wonderful world. And what is a word, right? WHATA. And a big tip of the hat and a thank you to Louis Armstrong, Satchmo, for enabling that song, What a Wonderful World, to go viral and not just touch tens of millions or hundreds of millions, billions of people around the planet have heard that song and love it. Whenever you hear the opening bars of What a Wonderful World, what do you do right away? You can't help it. You smile. Now, smile is one of the most important words you can ever internalize, utilize, and leverage in your life because smile stands for seeing miracles in life every day. Seeing miracles in life every day. Let me tell you a quick story. It's about me. Imagine, if you can, I'm standing up in the morning, completely healthy and hearty, able to leap 12 buildings in a single bound. And in the evening, I'm in the hospital, totally, completely paralyzed from my neck down. It's called being a quadriplegic. And it was not from an automobile accident. It wasn't a spinal injury, a rare disease, never heard of the day before, took over my body and caused me to be completely, totally paralyzed. I could only communicate by blinking my eyes. I was 144 days in the hospital. I was 2 years in a hospital bed in my own home and I couldn't move. I was 4 years in a wheelchair. I had braces on both my legs, my hips, my ankles. That was progress. Thank God today I'm able to do vertical and ambulatory with the help of a 7-foot walking wand. So I'm a triped, not a biped. Can't walk up a stair by myself. Can't walk up a curb by myself. I've helped 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. However, you hear my voice. Positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant. All because of one word, smile. I got to tell you a quick story, though. I was... a couple of weeks ago, my 8-year-old niece comes over to me. She says, Uncle Barry, can we spell smile? S-M-I-E-L. I thought about it. Smile, smile, so understand. Why not? I asked her, how come? Just because then it would stand for seeing miracles in everyday life. Out of the mouth of an 8-year-old. But what was she doing? She was creating the kind of world that she wants to live in. Now, CREATE is a fabulous acronym. It stands for causing rethinking, enabling all to excel. And you're going to do some rethinking. You're going to have what we call a shift in perspective, just a little shift. Now, I got to tell you, I've been working with people for more than half a century. And on paper, when people come to me and we do coaching and such, they look great. When they start telling me about their life, what they've done is they drop the F in shift, and the other stuff happens. So you got to be effing careful with your Fs. Shift your perspective just a little bit, and the result is you'll be happier and healthier and wealthier. And here's how you do it. You're going to internalize, utilize, and leverage the 6 most important words you'll ever learn. And these are: choice, not chance, determines your destiny. How you choose to respond in any given situation will determine your path in life and your trajectory. Now, before we bring on wonderful Sal, I got to warn everybody in the audience, new people especially, that I do use a lot of 4-letter words. I even use the 4-letter FU word, and I do it for the shock value, and it's fun. Now, of course, the 4-letter words that we use, because we live in the world of the positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant, are love, life, hope, play, free, gift, swim. And the 4-letter FU word is fun. Fun, that's right. FU, capital N, capital N. So now some people raising their hands right away and say, Barry, sure, fun's only spelled with 3 letters. Not in our world. In our world, positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant. So after the show, you want to point your finger, twinkle in your eyes, smile in your face, and point your finger at your family and friends and say, F you, everybody. But remember to add right away, capital N, capital N. You got their attention. You said, what are you talking about? So, well, I was listening to Barry on the Joy of Living. He had on this guy, Sal. Wait till I tell you what we learned. That's how you do it. You get attention, now you can share. So before we bring on wonderful Sal, I want to urge everybody to use the 2 most powerful words in English language 3 times a day from now and the rest of your life. And when you do this, you'll be happier, healthier, and wealthier. These 2 words are thank you, thank you, thank you. That's right. Use them consciously and conscientiously. Thank you is a wonderful acronym that stands for to harmonize and nurture kindness. Kind is a great word that stands for keep inspiring noble deeds. I can't think of anybody that inspires noble deeds that I want to share with you more than wonderful, amazing Salvador Litvak. Sal, please say hello to 527,916 people around the world.
Best introduction I've ever had on a podcast, radio, or television program. Wow, Barry, a joy to be with you. Let's go. Let's rock.
We're rocking because he's a rocker. In addition to everything I'm going to tell you about, I'm going to tell you only 3 data points, because if I tell you all the things that Sal does, and is involved with, it'll take the rest of the show. 3 quick data points. You ready? Number 1, he's a great guy. He's a polymath. So we'll talk about what a polymath is a little bit later in the show. That means he does a lot of things, and everything he does well. One of the reasons he does everything well is number 2, he's married to a remarkable woman, and they share together their joy and their desire for wisdom and living it, not just speaking about it, but living it. And number 3, he needs work on his golf game. Well, we'll talk about that. So,
another 4-letter word.
Yeah, we're going to just jump right in and talk about something that, for me, is really fascinating. And I'd like you to talk about rather than me discussing it, because a worldwide audience. We have people from Nepal, Baluchistan, from India, from all over Latin America, and obviously the United States, et cetera, et cetera. You have 2 names that are distinctive. One is a very distinctive Spanish sounding name. Another is a very distinctive, obviously Jewish name to people who know anything about Jews. So let's talk about Salvador Litvak and your particular journey. Before you just jump right in, I want to tell everybody that you know that this is called the Joy of Living. Joy is a remarkable acronym that stands for, you ready for this, Sal? Journey of You. So let's talk about your joy and your journey.
It's definitely been a journey. It's always a journey. Every day is a journey, but definitely my whole life has been a search to discover and fulfill my mission. You started with my name. I am pretty confident I'm the only Salvador Litvak in the world. I'm the second Salvador Litvak, and my grandfather was the first. It's a funny name. Salvador means savior. Litvak, as you mentioned, kind of Talmudic student from Vilna is what's most often connotated by that name.
Vilna is in a place called Lithuania. So for those
Lithuania, a Litvak is a Lithuanian Jew.
Yeah.
And so Salvador Litvak, might as well be called Jesus Goldberg. It's the same type of name. And it happened because my father's side, my great-grandfather came from Odessa, from Ukraine, and he ended up in Santiago de Chile. And we don't know why. Maybe the first boat out, maybe the quota of America was filled up with Jews, but somehow he ended up on the Pacific shore of South America. And he had 9 kids. And the first 3 were Avram, Isidore, and Malka. And then the next 6, born in the New World, had names like Manuel, Francisco, Mauricio, and Salvador was the youngest. But my grandfather, my father, and I were all born in Chile. On my mom's side, her Holocaust survivor. My grandmother carried my mother as an infant through a concentration camp. Absolute miracle story. And lost her husband. My grandfather on my mother's side died in the Holocaust in a different camp in Dachau. And my grandmother, who sounds like a saint, and she was, but was also a hilarious, upbeat person, who just fed us with her Hungarian cooking. And a feature of her life that we just all knew is that she was waiting to be reunited with her husband in the next world. She danced at a lot of weddings after World War II, when Jews who lost their spouses, remarried and started repopulating the world with Jews, making new families. But for her, there was only Imre. She was Magda, he was Imre, and she was just waiting her whole life to be reunited with him. So even though we were not a religious Jewish home at all, she was a quietly pious person who did light candles every Friday night. And I saw her, nightly praying from her little Hungarian siddur, her little Hungarian prayer book. And that definitely touched me. So in terms of my journey, after the war, they were in Hungary, communist Hungary.
So
let's unpack this.
This is all taking place in, like you said, communist Hungary. Not for
on my mother's side.
Right, because you were born in Chile. But on their side, it was communist Hungary. After World War II, they went back to Hungary, and then Hungary was taken over by the Russians. So again, we're not going to go deep into the history. However, I want everybody to understand that one of the reasons that Europe today, right now we're in the year 2026 on this earthly calendar. People might be watching this 50, 100 years, 1,000 years from now and saying, why were Europeans worried about Russians? Because Russians did invade Europe after World War II and took over and put them under the boot. Now, your grandmother was able to get out.
Exactly. So they enjoyed the thrills of communist Hungary from after the war, 1945 until 1956, when they were able to get out. And then they followed a relative, my grandmother's brother, to Chile. And so that's where my parents met. And then when Chile elected a communist president in 1970, the Hungarian side of the family said, we've seen this story before. We know how it ends. We're out. And that's how, thank God, we ended up in the United States. And I grew up, I came when I was 5. I grew up in New York, first in Riverdale and then in New City. For people who are familiar with New City, a little town about an hour north of New York City. And so it's interesting. I went to Hebrew school 3 days a week until I had a bar mitzvah. And then I was out. I was just very bored and uninspired. Sadly, I was exposed to a kind of Judaism that so many American Jews are, which is maybe ethical monotheism, but really very little talk about God, about the higher world, about spirituality, about personal purpose.
The G word was rarely used.
Rarely used. Rarely used. It's so sad, especially because I was always interested in God. As a kid, my favorite genre was science fiction. And I was into, just the great science fiction authors, Isaac Asimov, Ray Bradbury, Frank Herbert. And I considered myself a scientifically oriented, very rational person. But from the youngest age, I thought, well, there's just no reason why a universe full of stuff would just come into being for no reason. It must have been wanted by the creator. And so if there is a creator, he must be interested in the creatures, and he would appreciate if we're interested in him. And so I was always interested in God.
Let's pause for a moment. Unpack a few things that you said, because they're really delicious. And I want to get a worldwide audience from many religions, no religions. People think they're atheists. And there's a great deal of literature these days, and been around for a little while, that say that people saying it takes far more faith to be an atheist to be a believer that God exists. In other words, I talk about the show a number of times, 6 words we discuss sometimes. God exists, God cares, God controls. Okay, those are 6 easy words to remember. The point is, though, when you said you look in the sky and see, wait a minute, it's not just lots of planets and stars. Today we think that we can at least talk about 39 trillion planets, stars, each one as big as the Earth. And when you go to the other side, into the human condition, there are approximately 39 trillion cells in the human body, every one. So that defies logic, right?
Of course. When you learn a little bit of science, a little bit of mathematics, that theory that we were taught in school, that so there was no life and there was a lot of elements kind of mixing and mashing in the water, and then through random chance, eventually with the big hero of the story being time, life just burst into being and then resolved itself into all kinds of different species, and from that humans emerged. And the actual mathematics of that, the odds against something like that happening, are so beyond that it's an illogical story. It just makes no sense from a rational perspective. And I'm not such a smart guy, but that was obvious to me when I was 7 years old. I mean, it's like there must have been some kind of will behind all this, a creator. And sadly, Judaism wasn't speaking about that to me, the Judaism I was exposed to. So I didn't go to other religions, but I was always interested in practices that would somehow bring me like to touch that upper world, to touch that mystical other upper world that must be there. And so over the years, I was into meditation, martial arts, endurance sports. In college, I was on the rowing team, which is not just an endurance sport, but it's a sport in which 8 guys have to be so synchronized that it actually touches something mystical. It's called swing when a boat is that perfect, and it's so beyond that. We're just athletes, but when you're that synchronized, like you can tell with the guy 3 seats in front of you, he had a fight with his girlfriend the night before just from the vibrations in the boat,
I want
it was that synchronized.
I want to go to a point, first of all, because I was born in Dorchester, raised in Brookline. Did you row for Harvard?
Yes.
Wow, you rode on the Charles River.
Yes, every day.
That's called inside baseball, what we just did. Okay, fine. And there's a wonderful book about rowing and the Olympics. What's the name of it? The
Boys in the Boat.
Oh, Okay, so everybody, I've talked about it on other shows. It's a must read because
Oh, it's great.
it
Great
does
book.
what you just talked about. It's transcendent.
Yes,
And that's
very
exactly
much.
what we're talking about the T word. So before we have, I want to mention now, we have sponsors that love the show. That's why it's here. And we wouldn't have these on. We didn't vet them, think they're worth your time and attention. Look, you're on the edge of your seat. Don't go away. There's more, much more Sal Litvak on the other side of this message. Don't go away. Be right back.
Hey, quick pause. If something you just heard made you stop and think, don't let that moment pass. Because that shift, that awareness, is the doorway to real joy. Barry Shore has put together a free ebook with simple, powerful strategies to help you live in joy every day. Go to barryshore.com and download your free copy now, because one small shift can change everything.
Good day, beautiful, bountiful, beloved, immortal beings, and good-looking people. Maybe good-looking, because you're always looking for and finding the good. We found good in abundance. Our cup runneth over with good. His name is Salvador Litvak. Yeah, and if you think it's an oxymoron, well, it's not. It's really a transcendent situation. One of the things that I want to mention, Sal, and I'd like you to discuss a little more on this, is that on this show, what we talk about oftentimes is that people come and they think there's more new information. Everybody likes new information, right? Well, there's information. I call it IO, which is a important thing in the world today. Information overload. There's just so much out there. You got to be careful and know what to select and such. So we don't do information. People want inspiration. Wow, listen to Sal. That's fabulous. Oh, Barry, yeah. But a couple hours later, you need more. This show is about the T word, transformation. And that's what you're discussing right now. We want to know more about your journey of transformation from a wonderful, caring, loving human being into something that was touched by the spark of the Creator.
Again, what a wonderful transition. And I love your word transcendent. That's what I was always looking for. I was just always looking for it here and there. I think in my life, it's funny, I haven't talked about this probably in decades, but I remember when I was a teenager, I think my family was on a vacation somewhere. And there was just a moment, I was sitting on the back porch. We were looking at, there was a forest, behind this hotel or inn or whatever. It was just very quiet. And I think everyone has had moments like this in their life, where things just quiet down and you get a little bit outside yourself and you feel this interconnectedness. And there's a stillness that comes on you and you just wish it would last. And you don't know what it is. You don't know what it is that you're connected to, but it feels right, and then you get back into the grind, whatever you're all about. And you forget moments like that, but they matter. Those moments really matter, and you need to hang on to them. The Grateful Dead sing a song, Fire on the Mountain. And there's all kinds of mountains that we climb and fire that we want to bring back. And if there's going to be a transformation, it's because you keep that fire burning when you get off the mountain. So I was so busy rowing in college that, I didn't really think about who am I, what am I going to be when I grow up. When we came to this country, my parents, said, what's success look like in America? Go to Harvard, be a doctor. So they said, you're going to go to Harvard and be a doctor. And being 5 years old, I said, okay. That was the plan until I was at Harvard and I realized I don't want to be a doctor and I don't want to be a biochem major. I'm really enjoying my, of all things, literature classes, because there's so many writers who are talking about this something other, this higher world. And that intrigued me. And so since I didn't go to medical school, being in my family, I went to law school. But I was living two lives. I was a law student by day, poet warrior by night, going into all kinds of weird after-hour clubs. I went to NYU Law School, so I was in New York City. And I was writing poetry, performing it. I was doing performance art, all kinds of wacky stuff. And I ended up working as a lawyer for 1.5 years at a big mergers and acquisitions corporate law firm. But it was so not for me. I was plotting my escape. And a friend of mine went to film school. And I was like, film school? What's that? So what do you think it is? You'll go to make movies. It never crossed my radar that a person could go to school to become a movie director. It's just, I always loved movies, but I thought that was as, unreachable as being a rock star. And I can't sing, so rock star was not happening. But I thought, movie directors must be children of celebrities. I mean, who else gets an opportunity to do something like that? They said, no, you can go to film school, and then, it's no guarantee of anything, but at least you'll have a chance. And by then I had some law loans. I asked around. The only good, or the top film school that was a state school was UCLA. They had an MFA directing program, and they were taking 18 out of 700 applicants. I really had no business getting in, but I somehow talked my way in there. And as soon as I arrived, just thank you, God, that I didn't miss this. This is what I was born to do.
Okay, let's pause for a moment and unpack. Because again, joy, that's the journey of you. Remember I mentioned that Sal, he's a polymath. What's a polymath? That means somebody who's capable of doing many different things. And again, doing them well. A lot of people do a lot of things. They don't do anything well. Everything he does well. You've gotten into Harvard. Hello, talk about the immigrant's dream. It's not the Harvard of today, but still, it's Harvard. And he's on the rowing team. and he's I'll go to law school. Why not? Okay, he goes to law school, he does well, and he works for a major firm and realizes you can't live this way. That's not life. Okay, you can make money, you can do things, and then, wait a minute, film school? Well, why not? I want everybody to understand this, because this is what's really about our show. I talk to people a lot about the American mindset. Everybody wants to live in America, you think. You don't need to live here. It's really what we call the American mindset. Yes, you can. You're capable of so much more than you even think possible. So now Sal is in film school, and as I said, out of 700 people that, by the way, almost every one of them fully capable. We're not talking about just 700 people are applying. 700 people fully capable. Matter of fact, they may have been the dream of their lives. And here comes this Litvak, and he gets accepted, and he realizes, click, the good Lord says, you know something, Sal? I love you. I don't want to prove it to you. I mean, I'm crying as I say this. God is saying, Sal, I love you. I'm going to show you how much I love you. I'm going to allow you to touch something called imagination, bring it to people.
Yeah.
So let's talk about how this influenced you. And when did you meet Nina?
While I was in film school at UCLA. We were definitely not religious at all, though both Jewish. And we met on New Year's Eve at a Mexican restaurant famous here in LA called El Coyote.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
While I was waiting to use the payphone. That's how you can tell it was another era. But we quickly realized that we had a lot in common. Her dad was Argentinian. She was working, or had been working, at one of the film studios, hated it. She wanted to write screenplays, not be part of that awful, very toxic Hollywood culture. Very often the people who are making movies in this town are, they're not artists. Let's put it that way. And then what also happened while I was in film school is that my grandmother Magda, that I mentioned before, reached the end of her journey. She was 88 years old. My mom said, come home. She'd been in hospice care, and it was the end. And we were just very, very close all through growing up. She always lived with us. And
you were living in New York still?
My parents had actually moved to Bethesda, Maryland. My dad was working for the World Bank in Washington.
Okay.
But she had a bedroom in our house, and I was sitting next to her, like I'm sitting here with you. She was there, racked with this cancer at the end. And this is not always the case when you attend someone's passing, but with her, we knew when she took her last breath. And we're crying. My mom is next to me, my brother next to her. My mom shrieks, we're all really crying. But something pulled my attention away from my grandmother's face into the middle of the room. And it was like the air shimmered and then something opened. And through this opening, I saw my grandmother, not sick with cancer, but this wonderful, funny, charming woman like I always knew, older, but moving away from me and moving towards someone. And then I recognize my grandfather from all the pictures in our house. And I'm like, oh my God, this is the moment she's been waiting for 53 years, to be reunited with her beshert, her beloved, her soulmate. And I can't believe I'm seeing this. And then the really weird thing was, she didn't want to go. It was like a puppy being dragged across the kitchen floor, reluctant. And I'm like, why doesn't she want to go? She's been waiting for this for so long. And then I got it. She's embarrassed. She's an old lady. He's this young, handsome man she last saw when the Nazis took him away in 1943. He reached out, took her hands, and pulled her to him. They embraced. It got brighter. Then she was young again. And it was this love-drenched moment with the joy that, Hollywood could never capture something like that. And then it got really bright, and then they were gone. And I'm there with my jaw hanging open, like, I can't believe I've just seen this with her last moment in this world. She gave me this glimpse beyond the veil. And, when I got back to LA, I thought, I got to honor her in some way. What does a Jew do? I guess you go to a synagogue and say Kaddish, the mourner's prayer.
Yeah, I want to put on pause for a moment. Again, worldwide audience. Some people have no idea what we're talking about. 35 and under is our core audience. The ability of what Sal is sharing with now is the human condition. I want to honor this being that I love as deeply as my life. And he does it in the way of this particular tradition. And it's called saying Kaddish. Kaddish really means that you're recognizing the glory of the Creator. And you've not
even in the toughest moments, even in loss. Yeah.
Right? And you've never been doing this for the past few years, right? No. So
Never.
he comes back to Los Angeles, says, well, I'm going to do this.
And, so I went to the kind of synagogue I'd gone when I was a kid, a big conservative synagogue. And fortunately, that day, the rabbi there was a gifted speaker, an educator. And he was talking about God and wisdom. And I was fascinated. And I thought, this thing that I've been looking for, that I look for in meditation and Grateful Dead shows and martial arts and endurance sports and, in literature and poetry. And maybe I should try my own backyard. Maybe I should try this ancient tradition of the Jews, the Jewish wisdom tradition. Maybe I didn't, maybe when I was a kid and I said, this is boring, maybe it's like somebody who never tried sushi, and then the only sushi they tried was 3-day-old sushi from the supermarket. And they said, yeah, sushi's no good. But they never tried real sushi. So now I was going to try real sushi. And I sought out, great teachers, great rabbis here in Los Angeles. Thank God we have a bunch. And I was very inspired. I was learning, taking classes. And every rabbi, sooner or later, usually sooner, will mention the Talmud. And the Talmud is the oral wisdom tradition, which stretches all the way back to Mount Sinai, when God gave the Torah into the world, not just to the Jews, but through the Jews, via the Jews, to the world.
Paul is giving something of great import right now. God, yes, gave the Bible, the Torah, the Ten Commandments that people know about or heard about or seen in movies to a group of people. However, as Sal is pointing out, think global.
Yeah.
God gave it into the world because God is the channel of goodness. We call him a cog. And every one of us is a cog, a child of God. So he gave it into the world. It was the ultimate download, right?
Yes.
And it has several working components to it. One of them is written, another one is oral, because you need all these components to make sure that you have a human population that can live in joy and happiness and peace and love. Okay, we messed it up a little bit, but that's really what we're talking about, right? The ability to do that. So you became inspired and you started learning this T word. We talked about transcendence, transformation, and now the other T word, the Talmud.
The Talmud, which means the teaching, or the Torah means the teaching. The Talmud is the learning, and so, and it's a tradition. Just for people to understand very basically, when the Torah is given, which is the Ten Commandments are the nucleus, let's say, and the Torah is the rest of the story of the Jews, together with the laws that Jews are obligated to live by. And there are 7 of those commandments that apply to all humans. But those laws are drawn very broadly, very succinctly. And so, for example, it says, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul and all your resources. Okay, we could sort of figure out what that might mean. And you shall bind these words as a sign upon your hand, and they shall be a symbol before your eyes. What does that mean? How do you do that? And so God showed Moses how you do that. And that's called tefillin, right? So you actually write those words on a scroll, you put them in a black box, and then with black leather straps, you bind those words to your arm.
I want to emphasize to everybody, notice he just said the black box. On every airplane in the world is a black box. Everybody knows that a black box holds secrets. And the secret of life that Sal is talking to us about right now is that he didn't just taste the Talmud, he understood this great understanding of life. A little bit of learning is a dangerous thing. Drink deep or taste not the Pierian spring, which simply means dive in completely. And he did.
That's it.
Right?
That's it. All the way.
Okay, so now you're in the Talmud, baby. You're in the sea. And now what do you do with it?
Well, what I said was that these rabbis kept mentioning the Talmud, and it seemed that it was clearly a source of wisdom, a fountain of wisdom, a collection of wisdom, debates of incredibly bright people. No one will argue that the Jews are smart people, and generations of our smartest and wisest have recorded their conversations, their debates and discussions about what it means to live a meaningful life in God's world. And the Talmud is a record of all of that. But it's so big and so deep and so high level, this learning, that since I didn't grow up religious and I didn't go to yeshiva and I never studied the Talmud as a kid and for all those years. So when I would, now that I was becoming a little bit more religious, Nina and I were together. We were going to synagogue every Saturday. But when I would go to get a prayer book or, some item of the ritual life of Jews at the mitzvah store, a wonderful, bookshop and Judaica store, which at that time was on Pico Boulevard here in LA. And then I would see the Talmud. Now, if you said your crowd is very young, so they probably have never, maybe they heard of the Encyclopedia Britannica, but they might not have a mental picture of what it was. The older crowd will. But the Encyclopedia Britannica was 23 large, thick, small print volumes with the wisdom of humanity. And the Talmud, containing the wisdom of the Jews, this tiny subset of humanity, 73 volumes. It's so big. It's so vast and occupies so much shelf space, just one set of the Talmud, that I thought, I wouldn't know where to start. I don't know the language. Much of it is, some of it is Hebrew. Most of it's Aramaic. Forget it. I didn't go to yeshiva. I don't even know if I'm allowed to read these books. It's too much. I'm intimidated. Walk away. And that must have happened a dozen times between 1997, when I first reconnected after my grandmother's passing, and 2005, when, again, I was not an Orthodox Jew. I was just kind of involved. We went to Shul, to synagogue on Shabbos. We drove there. And I would take classes, now and then from really wonderful, inspiring rabbis. But the Talmud, which was always piquing my curiosity, was so intimidating that I just kept walking away from it every time I would visit that store. Then one time in 2005, I'm in that store. I'm looking at the Talmud. I'm like, I'd like to read that, but it's so big. I wouldn't know where to begin. I don't even know if I'm allowed. I start to walk away like I have so many times before. And this time, something stopped me.
Well, one moment. Hold that note. Cliffhanger. Remember, we have sponsors that love the show. We wouldn't have them on if we didn't think they're worthy of your time and attention. And Sal is keeping you on the edge of your seat. Be right back. Don't go away. I want to know the rest of the story.
Hey, quick pause. If something you just heard made you stop and think, don't let that moment pass. Because that shift, that awareness, is the doorway to real joy. Barry Shore has put together a free ebook with simple, powerful strategies to help you live in joy every day. Go to barryshore.com and download your free copy now, because one small shift can change everything.
Good day. Beautiful, bountiful, beloved immortal beings, and good-looking people. Maybe good-looking. So I was looking for finding the good. Oh, did we find good? By the way, I want to make mention to you, don't write anything down. Just listen. Everything's in the show notes. And there's so much more that we haven't even touched upon it. We'll be touching on the next few minutes, but it's just going to be pieces and bits. And maybe we'll ask Sal, we'll come back again. The point is that it's all there for you, because this show, it's not about Sal, great guy that he is. It's not even about Barry, fabulous. It's about you becoming the best you. So now I'm interested. You're going to this bookstore. It's an 8-year journey so far between you looking at this and thinking about it. Maybe, who knows what it could be. And now something happens.
I'm in that store. I walk away for the dozenth time, and then something stops me. It says, this is ridiculous. They're just books. I was an English major at Harvard. My wife and I are book people. Our house is full of books. I'll just get book one, see what it's like. What's the big deal? So I figured out from the table of contents of the nearest volume that book one of the Talmud is called Blessings, Brachas. I find book one on the shelf. Now I'm feeling good about myself. I'm purchasing the Talmud. I put it down on the counter. The kid at the register says, you're doing Daf Yomi. I say, what's Daf Yomi? And he looks at me very strangely. For the people who can see the video, I'm pulling my glasses down to the tip of my nose so that he can look over his glasses at me as if to say, are you kidding? And I'm thinking, oh boy, Daf Yomi must be a code. If you don't know this code, you're not allowed to read these books. Now he's got to get rid of me without embarrassing me. It's so awkward. So he says, Daf Yomi is Hebrew. It means page of the day. And it's a program where people around the world read the entire Talmud, one page a day, everyone on the same schedule. It takes 7.5 years to complete. And today is day one.
Okay.
Now let's unpack that.
There's some woo-woo going on here. This is the rowing where everybody's in sync, and the world, and again, God showed Sal how much he loves him by letting him see the vision of his grandmother and grandfather being united. He saw how much he loved him by bringing him to film school. God is tapping him now on the shoulder, said, well, finally, you're getting the message. I love you. Get involved, right?
Get involved. Now, it would have been amazing if I happened to buy book one of the Talmud in the first month of a 7.5-year cycle. Wow. Imagine if it was the first week. But it wasn't the first month or the first week. It was day one of a 7.5-year cycle. Now, Daf Yomi is a challenging program. It's 7 days a week for 7.5 years, and it's about an hour a day. And a lot of people who have the big beard and the black hat, and they went to yeshiva, they embark on Daf Yomi, and they don't finish because it's such a big commitment. I mean, every day you got sick, do your Daf. You're getting married, do your Daf. It's Yom Kippur, do your Daf. You're traveling, do your Daf. Doesn't matter. You got to do it every day. But I really felt that God put the book in my hand. So I said, okay, I'm in. I'm going to do this. And I, realized right away, I did a little research. You're not supposed to learn the Talmud alone. It's an oral tradition. It was actually never meant to be written down. But during the Roman persecution, there was such a great fear that all the great rabbis would be killed that they wrote down a kind of coded version. And that's how the Talmud originally got set down, the mission of the core of it. And then over the centuries, more and more discussion, debate, commentary, and that's how it grew to 73 volumes. But it's meant to be learned with at least another person, usually with a great teacher leading a group. And I tried going to such a class. They said it was in English, but the rabbi was speaking what we call yeshivish. It was the jargon of the Talmud, where every other word from his mouth was in Hebrew or Aramaic. I had no idea what he was saying. And I just wasn't going to be able to learn the page for an hour and then go to the class for an hour every day for 7.5 years. So for the next 3 years, I did it by myself with the Art Scroll. The Art Scroll publishers have done an amazing job. It's not just a translation. It really is a great team of rabbis teaching it to you. Then we moved to this new neighborhood on this side of town where I live now in Hancock Park, which is another Jewish neighborhood. And I tried again going to one of these Talmud classes. And now I could follow it, even with all that jargon. And I went with those guys the rest of the way. And then after 7.5 years, I was blessed. And I really felt like my grandmother, my grandfather were with me to complete Shas, as it's called. To complete that journey. I actually went to Giant Stadium in New Jersey. My favorite team. and they had a celebration called the Siyum Hashas, where there were 93,000 Jews in the stadium celebrating this.
Everybody there, 93,000 people there, and other stadiums around the world simultaneously celebrating the completion of this particular cycle, because the moment that it's completed, we begin again.
Exactly.
The journey of life and the joy of life, and what Sal is sharing with us, again, as a polymath. I want to touch on movies and on humor and such in just a moment, is that life is an ongoing process. It's not just, gee, I think I'll observe it.
Right.
You need to be in. And now he's called the accidental Talmudist because he teaches this to thousands of people around the world. And that's part of the genius of the human experience. When you get involved in things that are life enhancing, guess what happens? You enhance life, not just for you, but for everybody around you. Isn't that right, Sal?
Because a good-looking person is looking for the good in others and to bring good to others, as you said. I love that, Barry.
I want to talk about 3 things very quickly in the next few minutes that we have together, and then I'll ask you, maybe you'll come back. Let's start with something just completely on the other side, that you are a Grateful Dead aficionado, a dedicated deadhead. Now, again, even though our population is under 35, there are people around the world who still hear Grateful Dead. Yeah, I've heard of them. And
and listen to them. There's a lot of young deadheads. It's great.
Yeah, no, especially today, the music. But I want to talk about one particular song because, Inside Baseball, for me, I tend to put it on what we call Erev Shabbos, just before the Sabbath begins. I tend to listen to this while I prepare. I put it on my computer, just have it there and listen with the lyrics and such. And the song is called Ripple, and it's not wine. So let's talk about, because you mentioned the word stillness before and such, and just wax eloquent.
Let there be songs to fill the air. There is a fountain that was not made by the hands of man. Barry, that's my favorite song, and it's in my will that it will be played at my funeral for my friends. We really have a lot in common. But so just to really now go on fast forward a little bit, as a result of being there at Giant Stadium, I thought that I should tell my story because maybe somebody else might attempt, to learn the Talmud that wouldn't otherwise. And long story short, it ended up becoming a column at the Jewish Journal, thanks to David Suisse, the publisher, called The Accidental Talmudist. Sharing what is beautiful in our unbroken wisdom tradition going back 3,500 years, and then a Facebook page to promote that column. And that just took off in a way I never, ever could have imagined. And so now Nina and I run our platform together, Accidental Talmudist. We have about 1.5 million followers across.
Wait a minute. I want to tell everybody, listen to what he said. Took him 8 years to do it. Picks up a volume. The beginning of the process. 7.5 years later, he's in a stadium with 93,000 other people who are celebrating the same event and around the world. And he says, I think I might as well tell the story. And in one column, in one local newspaper in a place, and on a Facebook. And by the way, thank God, this is part of the benefit of the internet on Facebook. And over 1.5 million people touched on Facebook with this. You don't have to be Jewish.
Yeah.
You have to be a
No. Probably more than half of our followers are not Jewish.
Yeah, you have to be a seeker. That's it.
But we have to be a seeker, exactly. And we share what is beautiful in the tradition. We share the humor. I tell a lot of jokes, the classic Jewish jokes that ended up becoming a book, thank God, best-selling book on Amazon.
Let's transition now. We talked about ripples. Going to play it at your funeral. You did a column. One column creates other columns, information, and that's the genius of being rewarding good things. And now let's talk about you're a filmmaker. I want to talk about a couple of films, but let's talk about a book for the moment, because people still read books, or they claim to. And especially with things, there are 3 topics that everybody likes to have a book about. Number one best-selling books all the time. First of all, the Bible. Bible is number 1 in the world. By the way, second most popular book title in the history of printing, Chicken Soup for the Soul. In all its extensions. Why? Because it talks about what we just talked about, the soul. Hello. So anyway, the 3 categories of books all the time that people like to buy. Cookbooks. They have lots of cookbooks. They may not use them all, but they have cookbooks. Number 2 is humor. Everybody loves jokes. Yep. So let's talk about humor. And you can't, by the way, you can't get more humorous than Jewish humor. Because and by the way, just to put things out there, I'm older than Sal. If you're watching this, you know, because Barry's 77. Chronologically, 48 metabolically, because I swim 2 miles a day, 6 days a week, 28 mental acuity, because I build things on the internet, and my SOW is 8. What's an SOW? Sense of wonder. I'm an 8-year-old. Okay, Sal, how old are you chronologically?
60.
60. So you're a puppy. And you were raised in America, but you weren't, in the sense that when I was growing up, there were television was still in its infancy, and the most famous show in the United States of America when I was growing up was Molly Goldberg. You hear that? Molly Goldberg. And right. When I was growing up, one of the greatest books that we had in our house was a book by a guy named Sam Levinson.
Sure.
In one era, out the other. He was funny, he was great at that. And now, in that same tradition, is Sal Litvak. I mean, it's almost like Dolly, you know. So he has collected, and he put a book. It's called "Let My People Laugh." So I'm going to put you on the spot, Sal. Actually, before I put you on the spot, we love acronyms, as I told you, and you know. I created an acronym for your name. May I share it with you?
Please.
The only difference is I did put the E at the end of your name. So you'll grant me the poetic license. Here we go.
Okay.
So Salvador, Salvadore is the way I'm spelling it. Success attracts love. Vision awakens determination. Opportunity rewards enthusiasm.
My middle name is Alejandro. So my middle initial is A. And I feel like maybe that A would be opportunity. Was it opportunity? Rewards action.
Action. And you know something? Let's go with, because you just said the key word that separates winners from all other people.
That's it. You gotta go. There's a
Somebody,
moment where you gotta stop talking and go.
yeah, it's really critical. By the way, one of the reasons that we record this is so that you, yes, now there's 500 and almost 28,000 people listening, and you're going to share this with 5 people. It means 2.5 million people you touched. Is it recorded so you can listen again? The winners listen the second time. The people who will excel beyond anybody else will listen the third time. 3 times, unbroken cord. That's Talmudic. Okay, now let's talk about, I'm going to put you on the spot. 3 quick jokes.
I don't know about quick. I will say that the great George Burns said that the secret to a good sermon is to have a great beginning and a great ending, and as little as possible in between. But I'll tell you one of my favorite jokes.
Yes.
So there's an interfaith conference, and there's a rabbi, a priest, and an imam on the panel, and they're asked, "What do you hope people will say about you at your funeral?" And the imam says, "At my funeral, I hope they'll say that I put the needs of my congregation before my own." The priest says, "At my funeral, I hope they'll say I extended my ministry beyond the walls of my church." And the rabbi says, "At my funeral, I hope they'll say, look, he's moving."
That be Jewish humor. Okay, we're going to conclude for the moment. Just a couple of minutes, that's what we have. Guns and Roses.
Moses.
Now, of course, it's such a great play on a band. It's a great title. I mean, come on. Guns and Moses seemingly don't go together like horse and carriage, and yet they do in today's world. We have a very difficult world today. We're not going to spend my time on it. Matter of fact, you know what we'll do? Because basically our time is concluded together. I'm loath to say these words, wonderful Sal. And as I said, everything is in the show notes. Guns and Roses, you got to see it. You must see it, experience it. We have 3 quick questions for you. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Number 1, will you come back again?
Yes.
See, winner, action. Number 2, Salvador Litvak. You have only 80 seconds to answer this. What is your most fervent desire?
That everyone, and I will help where I can, but everyone's got to do it themselves, realizes that God's first commandment into the world was be fruitful and multiply. And if it meant have children only, it would have sufficed to say multiply. Be fruitful means to fulfill your mission. And a person can't fulfill his mission unless he asks, what is my mission? What is my mission? What is my mission? What is the problem that won't be solved unless I solve it? What is the contribution that won't be made unless I contribute it? Who's the person that won't be helped unless I help them? If you keep asking, what is my mission? That answer will come into focus, and then you will be fruitful. And that's something that I've done every day for years and years and years. And I feel like I've years to go before I fully fulfill it. But I've come so much closer than I would have if I hadn't kept asking that question.
Thank you. Many miles to go before I sleep. And number 3, may I give you a hug in front of 527,986 people around the world.
Absolutely.
Let me tell you what that's for. Heartfelt, unlimited giving. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Remember, you're listening to The Joy of Living with host Barry Shore, the ambassador of joy, amazing Salvador Litvak, the polymath, who is not just the accidental Talmudist with 1.5 million people listening to him, a filmmaker, an author, a great guy. He is fruitful and he's multiplied. and he contributes to the world. Because remember, this is all about transformation, transcendence. I mean, this show is all about the three fundamentals of life. You live these three fundamentals to be happier, healthier, and wealthier. First one, life. Your life has purpose. He just talked about it. Number two, go mad. MAD is an acronym that stands for make a difference. Lead a purpose-driven life and make a difference. Number three, unlock the power and the secrets of everyday words and terms. WWW, what a wonderful world. Smile, seeing miracles in life every day. As my 8-year-old niece says, seeing miracles in everyday life. Create the kind of world you want to live in, causing rethinking, enabling all to excel. Remember the 6 most important words you can internalize, utilize, and leverage. Choice, not chance, determines your destiny. How you choose to respond to any given situation will determine your path in life and your trajectory. Remember to use the 2 most powerful words in the English language 3 times a day, consciously and conscientiously. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And now, a blessing from Sal and Barry. Go forth. Live exuberantly. Spread the seeds of joy, happiness, peace, and love. Go mad. Go make a difference. Sal, don't go away.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Joy of Living podcast. Now that's another step towards your healthier, happier, and wealthier life. Never hesitate to do good in the world, no matter what the situation. Join us for another upbeat discussion next time at barryshore.com. And be sure to leave a rating and subscribe to the show to get more conversations like this. And remember to share it with your family and friends too. See you on the next episode.